All right, is everybody all set? You good? Arjun, are you good?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you're the only person whose name I know, so I'm gonna be calling on you a lot. All right, so next thing we're gonna do, this is a big chunk of code too. Actually, hold on, let me go over this first. So I mean, you can probably infer what this means, just in case. So this code that we should put in the home.js file, it's essentially just creating a class called home that will return when it is called from another file. And right now it's returning just an empty set of parentheses, which means it's returning nothing. And okay, so now navigate back out to your app.js, which is out, it should be in the SRC folder, and put this code in. And this is the code that is by default executed on the index page. So when you created a React project last time, one of the things that it set up was the index.js file, which has this app framework already built into it. So this code is going to be called just automatically. And what we're doing in the function app that you see up there is kind of, you might be able to tell it resembles HTML, which it is HTML. So
We should restart the authority on the brackets or in the return statement.
yeah, oh yeah, it comes with a bunch of
Yeah.
default stuff, right? Yeah, go ahead and erase all the default template stuff that comes with it.
Cool.
And actually, there might be a mistake in this code. I just noticed, maybe not. If it gives you guys errors, then we will fix that.
Should there be an error in home.js for expression expected?
Home.js should be okay. What does it say under the
Expression expected from the no bracket. Or from no content in this return statement.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, we're not gonna run it. We can do that stuff in there, so, but yeah, it should be okay for now. But yeah, so essentially what the code in function app is doing, it's using some very basic HTML. It creates a div, and then inside of that div, it puts the element called home. And because we just imported that from the components folder, which we defined just a minute ago, it now recognizes that as kind of an HTML element itself, even though it was imported from a different React.js file. And so now if we include that inside of the div, it's just going to call all of that code that we put in the home.js file and display it in this div.
You need the other the ones that originally come with it.
Yes.
For like right after class name, are those curly braces or parentheses? Different curly braces?
After the class, yeah, after function app, yeah, those are going to be.
No, right after class name. Like class name. Yeah.
Oh yeah, those are curly. Yeah, I see what you mean. Those are curly braces. Did he get set off?
We try. I think his antivirus is getting mad that he's installing React,
Okay, cool.
but hopefully, like he won't need to like put in GitHub. So all he needs is the React app, and he already can tile on.
Okay, nice. Yeah, well, for doing this stuff, he doesn't need GitHub for sure.
Yeah.
I think this might be. Is that a remnant from your code that I left in there? The
Yeah.
.app?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we might need to get rid of that. Let's see if it causes errors.
It might be because they might not have like this thing created already.
Yeah, I think the styles thing can just go
And
away. for
also, like this is a CSS file, like an as CSS file. So maybe remove that.
now. Yeah.
And also, we should probably not do module just because.
All right. So are you guys getting an error on the line where it says class name?
For the app. Not getting one in app, I'm just getting one in the.
Yeah, it's home.js.
Yeah, that one's fine for now.
Yeah.
we're gonna go back and that's not my
Wait. Oh, yeah, that's actually what it is before I fixed it. Uh,
We can see your other, the address. Yeah. This is what this is. Yeah. I don't know why it's not that. So we. It's not that, so. Yeah, it's not. No red squiggly lines. Okay, has everybody gotten to here? Anybody need this still up there? Okay. So now your homepage, now if we go back to the homepage, as you guys saw, you were getting the expression expected error because we had nothing in the curly braces return statement or nothing in the return statement. So now we're actually ready to add stuff to that return statement. And what we're going to be adding is HTML. So if you guys go to your, if you guys look in your SRC folder, there might already be an index.css file in there. If there is, then you can ignore this step. Because sometimes it worked for me, sometimes it set it up for me, and sometimes it didn't. So I just included this anyway. Oh yeah, if you don't, if there is no index.css already created, then go ahead and create that file in your SRC folder. And then in index.js, you're gonna want to import that. And then, yeah, that's where we're gonna be writing actual CSL with. What's up?
You see there are whole web files here, so update, you want to take that out or not?
No, we can. That's fine.
So that's when you're running data, so I'm here.
Yeah, only there's stuff that was included.
That's, it's running everything.
Yeah, I think that's the. Let's go. We have to ask if there's.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
But I think it's.
It's literally not, but like.
We're just like, getting stuff like that.
We'll be trying to. Start and be only at so we can install. Right.
Yeah.
You think we can, the administrator will get it right together and. Or have who you.
You can use that term for people.
Yeah, I've seen this one, I use.
Yeah, as long as you're using, well, you have to be in the right directory. Because there it's going to create projects inside of that folder. Oh, I guess it worked then. Oh, no. It didn't. Yeah, so if you go to the folder where your VS Code is, then it's the same. So actually, if you think you're, if you go back to terminal, you do the dash B, it's space, yeah. Could be NPM dash. Okay. That's nice. Okay, this is. Yeah. That is, I mean. Try Googling around some more and see if there's another solution, because I feel like I can see uninstall your antivirus that.
Yeah,
would be bad.
yeah, I mean, that's what I'm.
Oh, wait, can you scroll up a little? Sure, so you're on very similar versions as this person, maybe you need to update manually. Yeah, it's close.
Okay, but if I stop here to watch.
It was something similar. Or I didn't know. Install that. That would totally. Oh, maybe you have to do, you have to do this first.
Yeah, that everything is here.
Yeah, that makes sense. This is computers for learning.
I think I just have to. You're like, I will also. That's right.
You check your version.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's okay. So, yeah. Maybe just, I guess, go around and see more and wait back and come back and see what's going on.
Oh, sure.
Okay, so does anybody need this up here anymore? Everybody's all set? Okay. So the next part is kind of about a little bit of subjective things because everybody should have a different portfolio website. You shouldn't just have like a cookie cutter thing. So I'm gonna go over a couple basics with how to get you started on styling. But then from there, it's kind of up to you how you want your portfolio to be, and we can go over some examples of good portfolios. And we'll talk about too how you can actually learn from those and kind of steal their own CSS. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So I kind of went over this a little bit earlier, but just to make it more clear. So this is some CSS code. As you can see, we have kind of blocks of code separated by or grouped by those curly braces. And at the beginning of the curly braces is either the element or the class that's going to be affected. So if it doesn't have a dot in front of it, like the H1FP up there, that's just an element. So that means that everything in the HTML file with that element will have the following styles added to it. But then if you put a dot in front of the name that's in front of the curly braces, then it becomes a custom class. And that's something that you can then add to your HTML. Whenever you have an element, you can put a class inside of the element brackets. And then it'll have whatever styles are for that class added to it. So that means you can have multiple different paragraphs in your HTML file and they can have different styles added to them. And then, yeah, obviously the white-ish words in there are the actual styles. So you can see there's lots of things like fonts and colors and borders and things. Lots of different image formatting things as well. All right, so now we're going to get into some things that you might have already used a little bit before. So inspect element on Chrome, it's kind of infamous because inspecting element can be used to do a lot of funky things. So if you guys want to open up Chrome, we can go to just any website. I went to google.com for this one. You can inspect element. And if you hit inspect element, you will see the raw HTML for that web page pop up. And that can be really, really interesting to see because you get to see there's no way that a company can hide there's no easy way that a company can hide their HTML from you because you can literally just, that's what it's downloaded from the internet and then you can read it straight off of your web browser. And using this, you can go in there and be like, hey, I like how Google has their scrolling phone display on there. I kind of want to imitate that. So you can go in there and see what exactly they did with their HTML to get that working. And yeah, as I said, that's HTML. The actual CSS styles are usually stored in external.css file, which you can also get. You can go to the Explorer up there. But an easier way to see the actual styles is by clicking that styles button that's kind of towards the bottom. I enlarged that window so it gets a little bit bigger. If you click that styles button, then you can see all the individual styles that are added to each class and element. And that can be very useful for formatting your website like you want it. So inspect element is actually super powerful. This is something that, I mean, I've been working with this stuff for years and I only found out about these features pretty recently and they are super, super helpful for designing websites and making them better and making them faster, look nicer and everything. So the inspect element page, of course, you can see the HTML and CSS of a website, but there are also a lot of other cool tools that Chrome lets you use. The first one I'm going to talk about is Lighthouse. So if you go up to the top with those double arrows next to the elements console sources, there's a little button called Lighthouse. You can click it. And basically Lighthouse is Chrome's kind of built-in analyzation tool that will take any website, look at it, like comb through it and kind of rate it in a bunch of different categories. And so it'll give you some really, really valuable feedback about how fast your website is, how accessible it is, how search engine optimized it is, which is a big one to help increase traffic. Because SEO optimization or SEO, I said SEO optimization. SEO is a very, very big, it's a very complex field and it can take a lot to get into, but Lighthouse can help you with that. So if you run Lighthouse on, I think this was apple.com that I ran it on. Yeah, apple.com. As you can see, they have very bad performance. They're very good in accessibility, so I guess you gotta give them that. So you can integrate in all these different scales, and then this is where you can look at your website and be like, okay, I need to focus in on this area a little bit more. And those first three values are part of, well, not Lighthouse itself, but the the feedback that this gives you on the first three values can be very valuable to improving that fourth value, which is the SEO. And if you go to any website and run Lighthouse, it takes a couple of seconds to run. But if you run it, then you'll see you can scroll down past these numbers, and it'll give you a lot more detail on specific things, and it'll even suggest things that you can do to improve your website, which is really, really cool. And it's a very, very helpful tool, especially for SEO. Because I don't know if anybody's ever gotten into that before, but SEO can be super, super complex, and it's always changing, which is really annoying because Google's always changing their algorithms and trying to boost certain pages, and then your page can get lost really easily. So it's really good to make sure you're following all of those HTML formatting techniques and style formatting techniques to make sure that Google, their crawlers can very, very efficiently crawl through your website and analyze everything, index everything. And yes, that's Lighthouse. Another one that I really like is the device simulator, which lives in that tiny little button on the top left that has the phone screen and the tablet screen. And what that allows you to do is make the website really responsive. So of course you can have a portfolio website that looks like amazing on a computer. You can make it look beautiful. You can add all these cool, I don't know, animations or cool JavaScript things that make the website really flashy. And something that would tell an interviewer or something that you know what you're doing. But then it's very easy for it to break when you put it on your phone. So somebody looks at it on their phone and it gets super tiny, then things can break, all of your JavaScript stuff can go weird. And that obviously doesn't give you very good ethos if you're trying to apply for a job or something like that. So what the device simulator allows you to do is just like it says, simulate a lot of different devices. So you click that little button, it'll turn your computer-sized web page into a device-sized web page. And then you can change the actual device by clicking the little thing at the top left where it says on this middle picture, it says Dimensions iPhone 12 Pro. They have a list of common devices to select from, along with their respective ratios and pixel densities at the top. And one thing I did put in the slides too as well is there's a little button at the top right of the device simulator that says throttling, or it says no throttling by default. And that can be really, really cool if you want to test how quickly your website can load on slower Wi-Fi networks. So if you have a lot of like images sitting on the website that might make it look super rich and cool, if you're on a fast Wi-Fi network, that can really hurt the performance of the website if you're not on a fast Wi-Fi network. And so by doing the throttling, it'll throttle both the internet connection and the device speed, so that the speed it can process JavaScript and stuff like that. And it can really give you some drastic results. If you load like apple.com, it's a very big one, which I put that up there. It's a very big one for having like dense imagery and a lot of JavaScript stuff usually on there. So if you turn on the throttling, you'll see that it takes like more than 10 seconds to load, I think, and set everything up, which would not be an optimal experience if you're actually on a phone that is like that. So that is a really, really useful tool. Of course, there's a little rotate button up there. And what else? There was one more thing I wanted to mention. I think that's it. Okay. So that's the end of the slides that I had for today. But not necessarily the end of the workshop yet, because there's a couple other things that we can go over. So now we should be able to understand some basic CS. What is it? Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was one of the previous slide once.
Wait, oh, you want me to go back here?
The previous.
Just like this?
Yeah, in this slide, so does this have, like, I just went through the slide, which is like see the code, like HTML and CSS and JavaScript code for the website. So but it's like, I mean, I had this question before when I was trying to do this, that if we use this code on our local computer and try to, just have an application, like have the website created, it doesn't happen. So why is it like that?
So there can be a number of reasons for that. Probably the biggest reason is if you go to something like apple.com, that's a super, super dense website, in the fact that they have a lot of supporting files stored on their servers that they need to pull from. And some of those files are accessed through URLs, which can be accessed by your local computer. A lot of them are relative. So if you're pulling from a server, and it has a relative file path that will pull from somewhere else in that server, like relative to its current position. But if you pull that code down on your computer and it tries to go to that relative position, it's not going to find anything. And that's where a lot of the CSS breaks. If you pull stuff to your local computer, is a lot of their CSS is stored somewhere else, and you can usually access that from here through various methods. But it becomes really difficult to kind of get every little file that you need on your local computer to run their website. It can be done though for simpler websites, especially ones that don't really use external CSS or really any external files. But if you really want to steal the CSS from like apple.com or one of the other really complex websites, then you're going to need to do a lot of digging through their things to find all of the necessary tools that you'll need. And one annoying thing that they do, let me see if I can pull it up quickly. One annoying thing that a lot of big websites do, or I think most big websites do these days, if I get rid of this, if I can remember where I found this information. Yes, now I'm just trying to look for their CSS files myself. I forgot where they were. Here's one. Is this the one I was thinking of? No, it's not. Well, yeah, I can't find an example now, but one annoying thing that a lot of big websites will do is to make the crawlers, which are the like Google's bots that kind of go through and optimize their search engine, to make it easier for the crawlers to get through their website, which in turn makes it better for the search engines. They will usually delete most of the white space in CSS files because it's just like one less white space they have to go through. And so sometimes we'll download a CSS file from a big website and it'll just be like a big block of a bunch of random text. Where if you went through and you added new lines and you added spaces places, it would make sense, but it doesn't really make sense when you just see the big block. So that can also make it very hard to traverse through CSS and steal CSS. But it can be done if you're really I guess dedicated to wanting to take some CSS from a certain website. But it works a lot better if you see just like a little element on the screen that you like, or some sort of weird text formatting that works, that is responsive on every screen that you like. Then you can go in there and see, okay, they added these tags and they added these tags, and then you can go and add those to your own CSS. So does that kind of answer your question?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like he said, like for example, this button right here, like the button in the middle of the screen, is a lot easier to steal that because it's really a lot more simple. It probably has like multiple CSS components to it because I mean, usually big websites like that do have those, and it will probably have like two components to it because when we hover over it, it changes. So it probably has one for when it's being hovered and one when it's not. And also, as you can probably see, there's no JavaScript in those because they usually try to hide a lot of that.
Yeah, that's where they try to hide
secure.
their secrets.
Yeah. So we usually you want to like steal like simple stuff. You cannot really just full on copy a website from it for security reasons, and for things like that, they do things like that.
I mean, if they're really badly written website, then you can, but most big companies will be smarter.
Yeah. Also, like static websites, like websites that are very like plain and they don't change. Usually, it would be annoying to like steal everything, like because the inspecting is nice to like spot one thing, but as he said, everything is really like it's for the code to read, so the machine doesn't really care if it's written properly. Like it can read anything, but it should be a blob of things all together, so it's really hard to go through it sometimes. But yeah, that's why it would be hard, but you technically can if it's a static website.
So one more question. So what are the expectations of, for example, I'm trying to do an internship at some position as a web developer, so they might give me the problem statement. Like I have designed so and so website like that caters to their needs. So what is their like how do they get ahead along with it? Like they want us to create a website using technology. So do they expect us to go from scratch, or is it just that they have some kind of code that's written and we just have to modify it?
So I mean, I don't have much experience as a web developer. I did work on like I'm really like a small startup with like some colleagues, but how we did things from the ground. But if you're working for a startup, you usually would do something from the ground. But usually one of the big tech companies, they already have things set up, so you would work on their servers. Like if you're interested in learning more about like things that would be useful for if you want to proceed in the web developer like path, like learning how to get your website to be responsive. And for example, this hover effect is very important because it tells us that this is an action button. So how to make sure people know which what elements are clickable and what elements are not. Like make sure the letters are readable and things of this sort are like good things to keep in mind while designing your website. And that's like some of the basics that they expect from you if you were to develop a website for a company.
And two, if you're looking at a position at a company that is for like a web development position that uses previously built things, like if they use Bootstrap or something, then they might want to see that you're good at Bootstrap. So there's no reason why you wouldn't, if there's a specific position like that and that's what you're aiming for, then I don't really see any reason why you wouldn't want to do some cool Bootstrap stuff on your website. Maybe not the entire thing using Bootstrap. You want to have some stuff from the ground up so they know that you can do that. But I mean, if you want to like cater to what they want, then that would probably be beneficial as well. So yeah.
Are you familiar with Bootstrap is?
Yeah, sorry, I just name dropped the thing. Do you know what this is?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard of it, like, it's just, for designing or, compacting, like making websites compatible to separate devices. Like, for example, if it's a website for, like for a mobile app, for a laptop, so it's a technology that makes that website compatible to devices.
Yeah.
Right?
That's like responsiveness. That's what
Yeah, the term responsive is usually.
that's what people
for that.
usually use for that. And really what Bootstrap is if you don't usually web developers, we're more interested in coding than designing. And if you use Bootstrap, you don't have to do all the designing stuff. You can just pick whatever they have, because they have templates and the buttons already have stylings on them, and you don't have to go to the hassle of figuring out what color looks the best, or if this is readable, if the button has a hover effect, because they already have all that for you, which is really nice.
And one thing that I like about Bootstrap and kind of what you mentioned is it makes it really easy to make a website responsive for different widths and things. And they have if you go to their CSS files, it's really funny to see they have like 1,000, not 1,000, but they have hundreds of different tiny classes that have like one letter difference. Because it means, I mean, it can go, I think if the docs pulled up Bootstrap. If we go to docs, breakpoints, here we go. So they have these things called breakpoints, which are, yeah, they break the UI at certain screen widths. And they have a bunch of different UI elements that can tailor to these breakpoints. And so, something can happen when it's a small breakpoint, something else can happen when it's a medium, something else can happen when it's a large. And you can make really responsive websites that way. So you can have essentially like a fully customized UI for every single width. And it's really cool to look into. So I recommend, if you want to be a web developer, definitely start looking at Bootstrap. Because I don't know how prominently it's used in the industry, but I know it's very, very good to know, just because it can speed up your process a lot if you ever need to make something quickly. Yeah. So where did the slides go? There are the slides. Yep, so that's all the content that I have on the slides for today. So by now you should be able to, do a little bit of basic CSS scripting in your React website. And from there, you can start making your own portfolio website. Like if we go to, and let me see if I can pull this up quickly. If we want to see like an example of a portfolio website, I made one for a recent project, a satirical portfolio website. It is not, it is not intended to be real. If we go here. Give it 1 second. There we go. Nope, not that. There we go. So I made like a little portfolio website that has a bunch of fun things on here. As you can see, I am the CEO of Google and the CEO of Apple. And you know, there's lots of different Bootstrap. This was made with Bootstrap, which is why I was able to do it in a pretty quick amount of time. So like this is Bootstrap element here, the rotating or the scrolling thing. A lot of these things are Bootstrap related. This navbar is built off of Bootstrap. And another cool thing is using Bootstrap, I was able to make it very compactable. So as you can see, it adapts as I make the page get smaller. And there we go. So yeah, now we have like this is like the phone screen, and at the top you have the logo, and then you have these two buttons and everything. And so I guess I wouldn't say this is like this is not even close to a perfect representation of what a portfolio website should be like, but you know, you could do something creative with like your name, and then what you do when you scroll down, you have some more of your things that you've done, and then of course the contact page would be nice. As you can see, this is my current house. I live here. And I even had a little fountain animation just for fun. And yeah, so with the basic stuff that we talked about today, you should be able to make something like this. And I will mention too that the animations that you saw, the little brief animations, were created using a really useful library called Animate on Scroll. If you just search for AOS, you should be able to find it. It's this website. It's just you need, I think, 2 import statements and then a little script that you put at the start of your HTML file, and then you can get all of these different animation effects really easily. And they do, yeah, there's tons of different things. Zoom, and it's, as I said, it's animate on scroll, so these effects happen as you scroll down the page, and that can be great to add a lot of personality to your website, and to make it, I guess, expressive is probably the best word for that. So yeah, I think that's about all we had for today. If you guys want to stay, because we have this room for a little while, so if you guys want to stay behind and work on your website, and then if you have any questions, you can let us know. That's fine. If you guys want to head out, we will be posting these slides so you can refer back to them. And then of course, you can reach out in the GDSC Discord server if you ever have any questions. And yeah, I think that's about it. Thank you guys for coming today too. We hope that you learned something, and yeah, thank you also to the people on Zoom for joining us. And we'll keep the Zoom live for a couple more minutes in case you guys have questions as well. Yeah, so that's about it. See you guys. Do this. And in case you didn't get the sign in, there it is, the attendance.